Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, we're going to have an interesting episode. We're going to talk to the guy behind the Patagonia. And Patagonia, I'm a fan of Patagonia. So when I saw this guy at ProMat with Patagonia stickers, I'm like, what is going on here? I got to talk to this guy. So we're going to talk to Chad Pregracke. He is the CEO at Green Current Solutions. And most notably, he's cleaning up America's riverways, which is very interesting, but has led its way into the pallet world. So a very interesting crossover. And we're going to learn all about his story and how that's happened and how he's making, I guess, the pallet world a little more sustainable and the world itself, I think, a little more sustainable too. So, Chad, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. And hey, thanks a lot for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting to talk to you and learn about this. I know we connected back at ProMat earlier this year, and you know, I was very intrigued. I got your Patagonia sticker, so I definitely love that. But tell us a little bit about your background and your story here. Kind of cleaning up America's rivers is kind of your claim to fame, I guess, in a sense. So tell us a little bit about where did you come from? How did you come up with this idea? And what's your mission here?
Yeah. So, how it led to pallets is quite, I guess, interesting. But that's what I'm focused on. It's my life's work's been dedicated to cleaning up America's rivers, primarily the Mississippi River, but also we've worked on 23 rivers in 24 states. And when I say cleaning it up, I mean removing all the thousands and thousands of milk crates, barrels, buckets, I mean, you name it, pop cans, anything, and load barge loads of that kind of stuff. But how I got into cleaning it up was I grew up right where Interstate 80 crosses the Mississippi River. My parents' house is like a quarter mile from that bridge. And so the Mississippi River was like my front yard. And when I was 15 years old, I got into commercial shell diving with my brother. That's spending 8 to 10 hours a day on the bottom of the river, diving for mussel shells. Sounds crazy, and it is. It was a pretty ragtag, sort of sketchy operation, but we were selling the shells, and that's how I was making money to go to college and then to stay in college. Just a weird little note on that. They were using the shells for the cultured pearl industries, so all the shells would be sent over to Japan, and then they'd punch beads in there, and then they'd put beads or out of the shell. Then they put those beads in their oysters and their oyster farms, and then that's how you get a cultured pearl. So somebody with a necklace on the center of that probably came from the Mississippi River.
Really?
And so anyway, did that for 6 summer seasons, and like I said, 8 to 10 hours a day in the bottom of the river. It's pitch black water. It's all by feel. And I basically, over 6 summer seasons that I did that with my brother, I crawled about 150-mile stretch on the bottom of the river and just got sick of seeing all the garbage that accumulated over the years from all the floods or people dumping in the river. Whatever the reason, there was just a lot of garbage. And I thought, this is the Mississippi River. It's very iconic. It's a symbol of the country. It's like my backyard, and we drink the water and we eat the fish. And so I'm like, it needs to be cleaned up. And that was when I was a teenager. Got the idea when I was 17, and it took me 4 years to I tried to go through the state of Illinois, and I just couldn't get anywhere. But it wasn't their fault. I just didn't know how to present it or whatever. I didn't really know. Yeah. I just knew that I wanted to do something about it. So it was a NASCAR race that I saw when I was going to college on TV that I thought, all the sponsors of NASCAR, I thought, well, if a company will sponsor a race car, they'd sponsor a river cleanup. Be good for the river, be good for the community, positive for the country. It's a patriotic thing. That's how I look at it. Yeah. And so I got one small sponsor in 1997. That was Alcoa. They're really big in my town. Got a giant plant on the river. And anyways, and then just started with the boat I had from shell diving and turning that into like a floating dumpster, and been building it up for the last 26 years into the only river cleanup operation like in the world. Wow. So now it's grown into like 5 barges, 2 towboats, cranes, excavators, 15 employees, and an army of people. Yeah. So let's see, done over 1,400 river cleanups around the country, like community river cleanups. And I've worked side by side with, not a made up stat, over 124,000 people, and removed over 14 million pounds of garbage. So that's how that all started, and kind of what it built into. And it's the only one like it in the world. And I just opened another barge about a month ago too, like a classroom barge.
Really?
Thing's really cool.
Interesting. So, I'm curious on the shell diving thing, because the Mississippi, and I've spent a lot of time in New Orleans, family down there, and by the Mississippi. The Mississippi is a pretty powerful river, at least down there. Yeah. So, up there when you're down at the bottom shell diving, aren't you moving along with the river pretty quickly?
Yeah. So I wasn't in New Orleans. I was above. Always above St. Louis, which St. Louis is where the St. Louis is key geographically when it comes to rivers, because that's where it picks up a lot of momentum, to your point. The Missouri comes in there, the Missouri River, the Illinois River, and the Mississippi meet. And then after that, you go down another 180 miles, and then the Ohio comes in. And, by the time it reaches New Orleans, there's hundreds of tributaries that have come in, all the major, the Mississippi drains 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces, over 1.2 million square miles. And by the time it gets to New Orleans, the thing's over 200 foot deep down there. And, it's an animal. Yeah. Where I was, it was much less of an animal, but all the same, still a lot of heavy current. And, you're wearing anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds of lead around your waist. And you have a mask on, but after 3 or 4 feet, it's so turbid, you can't see anything. If you're diving 20 foot of water, like you can't, it's like being in a cave, and then you're just holding on down there. Like in June when the current's still ripping, you're holding on, and, cause that boat you're the anchor for the boat. So the boat's trying to pull you off the bottom the whole time. And it's really hard, irritable, dangerous work, but it's really kind of cool being down there, because everybody's like, what was it like in that, Yeah. And it was sometimes it was like the water was really ferocious, and then other times it was fairly calm depending on where you're at. When it was calm, you couldn't see anything, but you could hear really well down there. You could hear fish, tens of thousands of fish communicating. Like catfish sound like bullfrogs, like wool, wool,
really?
Wool. And that's what they sound like. And then there's another a fish that's really prevalent. It's called a drum, or some people call it a perch, but they get big, but they make a clicking sound to communicate to each other. Click, 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 click. So be always this constant, a lot of chatter down there. And it's an experience that not that many people had. There was probably only 80 people shell diving. So, yeah.
Wow, very interesting. I didn't even know that fish are like communicating with each other. Interesting. So I can only imagine what that was like. It's pretty incredible, but I think it's it's amazing that you took that experience and were able to see this problem around the trash in the river, and be able to create this whole operation that you've now grown pretty well, and worked with so many people to be able to start to accomplish this and clean this up. As we look at that, I'm curious, because we're the warehouse podcast here, right? So we're curious about the pallet side of things, definitely. So you're collecting all this waste. You said you collected over, I think, 14 million pounds is what you said, right, of waste, and obviously one of the big wastes that are out there, and we see a lot. I don't think we see as much attention like on the rivers, but a lot of people talk about the ocean and the plastic that's out there too, right? And it's plastic that's a big problem. So I imagine a lot of that you've collected has been plastic, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and that's really how it led to pallets. I mean, it was over a period of time. So there's about 10 of us that live on a barge, and we go town to town, city to city. That's where a lot of my time is spent. And my wife worked there for 19 years, and she's actually the CEO of the Pallet company. She runs it with a team of ladies, and they're awesome. But I still spend my time on the rivers there. But so plastics is a huge problem. That was the majority of what we're pulling in and so essentially we were pulling it out, and then we use the barge as a floating recycling center. We sort everything out, but nobody would take all the big, bulky, rigid, the 5-gallon buckets and the milk crates and the barrels, and nobody would do anything with that because they thought it was dirty or we're always moving. So whatever the reason, nobody would take it. We spent of money, just hard cash, at $349,000 over 14 years to get rid of this plastic. And we knew there has to be a better way. So that's, as an organization, that's what we spend most of our time cleaning up. But I also like trees a lot. I started planting a lot of trees along the Mississippi River and on the islands out there to create more food for wildlife, like oak trees in particular, for the deer, turkey, and all that. And so that being said, the program became really successful. We started our own nursery, and then to date planted or given away 1.9 million trees since we started. So mixing those two passions of cleaning the river, trying to do the right thing with what we're pulling out, not having to spend the money, solves the problem for the organization, then saving trees is how my wife and I came up with making pallets. And it was pretty simple when we've thought about it for 5 years trying to figure out what we could do. Yeah. And that's what we came up with. So we put it in motion about 4 years ago, and here I am on this podcast right now, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible journey, I got to say, and it's pretty remarkable. I mean, what you guys have been able to accomplish, just from a passion of, cleaning up the river and seeing that there's this issue out there, and now have turned it into a product that, is very widely used throughout the supply chain in the world, and from a business perspective. I mean, and it makes sense too. I mean, you're taking this plastic waste, and there's so many things that we have that are plastic. I mean, if I look around me here, I can probably point out like 20 different things, right, that have plastic in them in some way, right? So, So why can't we reuse that plastic in some useful way to be able to do that? So it's pretty incredible how you guys have come to this conclusion, I guess, and been able to create this and make this happen. So I mean, I guess tell us a little bit about the process to make the pallets and what goes into it. I mean, obviously we understand at this point the collection of the waste that you're utilizing to recycle into these pallets, but what happens after that? You get all this plastic sorted on the barge, and then where does it go? How does this whole process work?
Yeah, so just pulling it out is one thing. It's labor intensive. We do run excavators and things like that, but it's really boils down to lots of people helping out. Then we bring the stuff to the barge. I just kind of go through the full thing real quick. We put it in boats. These 30-foot custom boats that we build in our welding shop, and we have a fleet of those. We bring it to the barge. We throw everything in one, just everything out of the boat. Then it's sorted out, different barges, plastic on one barge, tires on another, propane tanks, batteries. I mean, everything is just sort of sorted out according. And then from there, if we're coming back to our home base, which is right off of Interstate 80 in the Quad Cities, East Moline, Illinois, we always take a load of plastics back. And then, so when we got this idea, we had the opportunity, so some of the areas in my hometown are pretty distressed, and there was an old tractor factory that had been shuttered, and it was just sitting there for many years and nobody had looked at it. It was yellow and was just rusty, wasn't the nicest place. And the family that owned it loves what we had been doing with the rivers, and we went and talked to them to see if they'd sell it to us for a good price, and they really gave us a great price. And they made old tractor cabs in this place. So anyway, we ended up buying that on 16 acres, and we started fixing the place up. So we have two main buildings. We have a 71,000 square foot facility where our injection molding machines are for the plastics. Then we have the grinding operations in a 32,000 square foot warehouse. And that's where once those plastics are brought back from the barge and out of the rivers, they go into our grinding operations. And then we can process about 3,000 pounds an hour at full capacity. And so we grind it up there, and then we bring it over to the other building on the property here. And then, we make pallets. And, just the design of pallets for our pallet took like a year and a half. And we hired a ton of consultants, some of the best consultants we could have in the plastics industry. I'm like of average intelligence, just community college. I'm not like, so it's very complex, a lot more than what I would have ever gathered. And my wife is really involved in the entire process, to say the least. Matter of fact, this is random, but the big bins that we actually have it set to our injection molding machines, they're just off her uncle's farm that we just fabricated the mixing bins, and my buddy fabricated it. And so just try to get, keep it as cost efficient as we can. But the process, this place is of, two different people came here and been very impressed and said this is of automotive quality. It's fully automated, and we kind of want less employees, but we want to pay everybody really well. And so we figured with automation we could do that and then be more competitive no matter where the plant is, if it's out of this country or in. And so I think we did all the steps right. What we have and what we found is we've only been rolling like the last 4 months. So I have been delivering these heavy duty, long lasting pallets all over. And I've had really good feedback on it, and people have been very impressed with them. So it's starting to roll. Could always use more business, but everything builds on momentum, just like the organization did and just like the cleanup did. And, we're moving along, and
Nice. Yeah. I mean, it's great to hear that. And it's incredible it's just incredible to think about the journey that you've been on to get to this point and build all these things around it. I mean, I think it's really, really remarkable. But I'm curious, talk to us a little bit about the pallet itself. What's the benefit of the plastic pallet? I mean, aside from it being, an environmentally friendly product and something that's, helping to reduce the plastic waste that's out there. But talk to us a little bit about the benefits between, utilizing this plastic pallet versus the traditional wooden pallet, and, why would I want to choose to use this for my operation?
Absolutely. So, I'm not anti-wood or anything like that. There's a place for wood pallets, and in certain situations it works great. But what we're touting is we have the most sustainable green pallet, socially conscious pallet on the market. It's heavy duty, long lasting. It's meant to last a long time, so outlast a wood pallet. So we say our pallet has about 100 turns. Virginia Tech on certain other plastic pallets says certain plastic pallets have up to 400 turns. And, it just kind of blows it out of the water for how long it lasts. And that's what we really wanted. We didn't build some export cheap, one way. We built a durable, heavy duty, under 50 pound pallet. But, I think where the cost savings are is just simply put, it just lasts a lot longer. And what we're finding is the wood, punctures some of the products, and it spills on the floor. I mean, I could go on and on. The nails and all that. A lot of people just are sick of buying wood and are looking for something different. And then certainly there's a lot of people out there that care about the world and think that we're doing something good beyond just, most of the plastic big pallet makers are big companies, and we're not, and we're just doing our deal. And so some people like that what we're doing and why, and they're supporting us by buying our products. And here's the thing. Our product is priced to sell. It's not like I'm not looking to make millions of dollars. We live in a modest house, and we're fine with that. And we're not, so we've got it priced really, really competitive. Like I can't say it's half of what a virgin pallet would be, but it's it's pretty close to that. So,
Oh, wow.
Our margins are small because
Mm-hmm.
we're in to build a good company we're in to build pallets, not necessarily make money. We got a lot of debt. We want to pay our loans, and that's about really what it boils down to. So we're happy with the full spectrum.
Nice. Yeah.
I feel like I'm just talking about it. I did have a lot of coffee. I'm just going to throw that at you, but
No problem. Yeah. No, I mean, we want to know it all. So, I mean, it's definitely good. I mean, I think the focus on making a good product and then, having it at that competitive price is also important too, because I think, a lot of times when we look at a potentially more green or sustainable option, sometimes the mind and the financial side goes to like, oh, this is going to maybe cost me more money, right? Because the process is different and all these things. But I mean, I think it's really important that you guys are considering that and making this a viable product. That's something that, can easily be invested in and make that different impact. So I'm curious on the side of, being more sustainable and the waste and things like that. I mean, if we look at the warehousing and logistics world, I mean, we're a huge contributor to the waste that's out there in the world, right? I mean, if it's from the transportation side on carbon emissions to the warehouse side on plastic wrap getting disposed of and, all the different things that are going on there, give us some perspective from what you've seen and what you've learned on, just how impactful some of these byproducts of the supply chain world can be.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah. So there's a lot there. First of all, logistics is a big part of getting the pallet back. If it doesn't just stay internal, getting back the reverse logistics. So I met a guy about 15 years ago. He served on our board of directors for 7 years of Living Lands and Waters. He worked at C.H. Robinson, top with some of the, probably the top 10 people within C.H. Robinson. And I normally would say what C.H. Robinson is, but I think everybody knows in your industry.
Yep. Yeah.
But he loves what we're doing and he's been helping us out and helping with the reverse logistics where needed and building what he calls the case for change. And so from switching from wood to plastic and making the business case first, the green part of what we do, the socially, all the benefits from an environmental standpoint, we understand got to save money and that's what will make it happen. So we're kind of combining the two and it's been pretty successful so far, but he's been helping us. So if somebody calls, he can help them evaluate where it's going to save money and get it to real world. And so people have a easier time spending extra money on the upfront. In some cases, some of these routes, that Pallet paid for itself in basically 3 turns. So kind of cool there. Yeah. But anyway, with some of the waste you talked about, that's where we think we're going to do pretty good with that. So like shrink wrap, the LDPE, some of the other things, like we'll actually take, like a lot of our customers have different byproducts, parts or scrap or whatever. We'll take that as well and put and grind it up and mix it with our river cleanup plastics and other plastics too. So and basically make their system more circular as well, and then put it in their pallet. So we have a chemical engineer on staff, an aerospace engineer, Robin, that runs it. It's 3 ladies who actually run the plant, but she is our COO. Her background is she's also got degree in material processing. So that's where the scrap, different part, whatever people have, we may be able, it's a good chance we can put it into pallets. And then you got to have, too much of something might, make it weaker and things. So that's where the chemical engineer and Robin kind of geek out on that kind of stuff. And so, if somebody's got something that is waste now, it might be turned into, we'll put it in. And so kind of that's what we're working on. So a great diverse team to be able to take care of some of it. But yeah, I mean, all the steps that people can do, like in your industry. And I think, these small little steps of changes add up to big things, because the scale of some of these warehouses and the transportation logistics are just so massive that small steps add up to really big things. And by the way, just a shout out to you. Like, I just met you on this podcast, but I looked up and you've done over 400 different podcasts since you started. I know that people have taken a lot from that and learned different things of how to do it more efficiently or environmentally or what have you. So you're inadvertently helping out in a big way with what you're doing, and letting people like myself be able to have a voice and talk within there. So thank you, dude. Just throwing it out there. Well,
no problem. I appreciate that. I mean, that's definitely, we definitely want to highlight people like you, and they're doing important and interesting things within the space, and, get as many people as possible aware of it so they can improve their operations. So, I mean, in that same regard, I mean, there's a lot of waste that's coming out. I mean, I think when I always think about waste from the warehouse, I always think like, the biggest thing is the stretch wrap itself. I mean, that just like stands out to me, because you might wrap something just to move it to the other side of the warehouse and then take the wrap off. And it's like, oh my God, like, you're wasting that. So, I mean, from your perspective and some of the things that you've seen and maybe in your discussions with people you've talked to as well, I mean, what's some of the best ways that, as warehouse operators, we can start to work to prevent some of this waste, or just be smarter about it?
I mean, each operation, I think is obviously different, and I haven't been in as nearly as many warehouses as you have, or some of the folks listen to this. But I think shrink wrap is definitely something that's big. There's strapping, like that are strapped on pallets. That's sometimes a big waste. And there's people doing great stuff with that and recycling it, not as much as what's needed to, because a lot of times the transportation to get it to where it needs to go is, I mean, I'm just a small part of it, certainly. But, I think in certain situations where the plastic pallet's going to sit there and it's just going to last a lot longer, I do think that is a big switch, and less. A lot of people were talking about how there's broken chunks of wood in the warehouse. I think that actually adds up, and I don't mean to be self-serving on that, but that's something big people can do. And it makes a big difference. And as far from a carbon footprint and less trees cut down and things like that, there is certainly tangible results with that add up. And I think at the end of the day, it's customers at the end care about all those little steps that are taken. But, then there's also things in the logistics and all of that. So I don't know if I exactly answered your question, because it's a huge question, and I don't know what
there's a lot
about
there.
Warehousing exactly. I'm just sort of still new at getting to. But if anybody's got a warehouse, I'm fascinated with everything, operations, whatever. It's been eye opening for me, and really cool to see what moves America,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys have, warehouses, but on the water, essentially, right, for this waste that you're storing there, and then the sortation that's happening and all those things. So, I mean, it's very similar. So, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to talk to you and learn about this. I think it's really incredible what you guys are doing. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask you a question here as we wrap up. And I think maybe this might be a little bit of a challenging question, but, as your mission is to clean out the rivers and get rid of this plastic waste. I mean, even though you're on the other side building this business around creating pallets from the waste, I mean, is there a hope that one day you won't be able to make these pallets anymore because you won't have that waste raw material available?
we work our way out of certain areas like St. Louis and different cities worked in for a long time. I do a lot with Budweiser and have a lot of great different people, but that's one example. We worked with hundreds of employees. We sort of work our way out of certain areas. So that is the hope. But then there are other places that literally are sometimes, or at least when we start there, like 4 feet deep in plastic. So you just have everybody sit on a milk crate. The answer is that would be the hope, but there's just a ton of work to do. And, so I don't know if we'll ever work our way out, but and just so you know, it's not 100% of everything we bring in. We get other plastics as well. So we're not just using river cleanup plastics. So that's where the companies come in that want us to use some of their scrap and things. But just to clarify, but the answer is we work our way out of certain areas, and we partner with lots of different organizations that help us maintain and keep it clean, and just, so the work it certainly gets better in certain places, and in other places just need a lot of work. And we're just one crew doing a lot in a lot of different places. But so I don't know if that answers your question, but hey, by the way, you should come out if you ever want to. I know you travel a decent amount because I saw you at the expo there, but if you ever want to come out on the barges, I mean, dude, there's rooms on there. You come check it out. It's a great crew of people, and or if you want to come to our operation, I'm more than happy to have you come and check it out. We're really proud of both things we've done here and how they coincide with each other, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, feel free to come out, bring any buddies or anybody you want. Love to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely would love to come out and check that out and be able to showcase it too, through our YouTube and things like that as well. So we'll definitely look forward to that and appreciate the invite, and appreciate you coming on the show today as well to talk to us all about this, and very interested to see how the pallet business continues to grow on your side, and really appreciate your efforts to make the environment for us overall and for future generations better. So Chad, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And if people are interested in learning more about Green Current Solutions or learning about how to get these pallets into their operation, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can go to palletgonia.com or go to Green Current Solutions. You can look me up too, like Mississippi River Cleanup, Living Lands and Waters is the name of the organization. You can check that out. But one way or the other, you just reach out. You can call our office too. Heather's here, and a lot of these, I mean, I'm just getting going. So like I traded our old camper in for a small minivan, and I personally deliver these and, to all the places. Nice. So it probably be, if you call it, it'll probably be me delivering to your facility, wherever it is. I just did a big loop up in New York and different places. So yeah, it's been interesting getting out on the road and checking out an industry I didn't really know that much about, but it's you guys are what moves America and keeps food on the table for everybody. So appreciate what you guys do. Kind of, there's probably a lot of unsung heroes out there in the warehousing and trucking and all that, but it's been eye-opening to me, and I'm certainly happy to be a small part of it. But yeah, if anybody is interested, we'd love to work with you, and we feel really good about the product we have, and come out and check it out anytime, man. Love to have you.
All right. Awesome. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well, so people can easily find it. So Chad, thank you once again for coming on the show today. And also thank you for the work you're doing for us out there as well.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.